All right, look, I don't need you to tell me why you brought me in here. I've already heard. I've already heard it from everybody. I've heard it from Eric. I've heard it from Aldrich. I've heard it from Baldric. I've heard it from all the icks, okay? I don't need to hear it from you. You're not an ick. You're not. I would never call you an ick. But even the little cleric, ick, little insufferable little twerp got me caught right outside the armory, acting like he knows what he's talking about. I know what they're saying. I don't need you to repeat it, okay? And I can explain. I can explain. It's I have explained. I've explained to everyone because they just keep talking about it. They just keep talking about my 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 reputation and what I did and what I can do and what I'm telling you, I am not getting soft. All right. I know they think that I'm soft, or they never would have had the nerve to say it to my face, but I am not getting soft. I was just surprised. That's all. That's all. There's a world of difference. There is a world of difference between a moment of a surprise and then being soft. Okay, because I just didn't know you were going to be there. I was I was under the assumption, I was working on the information that you were not going to be there because I had been told that the entire quarter was going to be cleared of any non-combatants, and then there are you, very non-combatant, and you're just walking around the corner, holding your little ledger as if you own it. Well, okay, so you do own the. Anyway, the point is, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting to see you there. And so when I saw you there, I was surprised. And when I am not prepared, okay, well, I mean, I was prepared, but when I am surprised and caught off guard, I was on guard against the combatants. I wasn't on guard against you. And so I just needed a moment. All right, is that it was a tactical pause. It wasn't even a tactical retreat. It was just a tactical pause. That's all. That's all it was. I was just reassessing, right? That's all it was. So, it has nothing to do with me being soft. It has nothing to do with me being anything else. There's nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with nothing except what I just said, that I was surprised. and so I did clear everyone out, didn't I? I mean, there was a moment there when I may have seemed less intimidating than I actually, in fact, am, because I am intimidating, very intimidating. So there was a moment where I might not have seemed intimidating, despite being very intimidating. And so it made things take a little bit longer. That's all. That's all. It just took a little bit longer, but I got the job done because I'm capable of doing the job, because I am, in fact, very intimidating. And I am not soft. I have never once failed to do my job. I have never once failed to protect you, your property, your interests, and of course, you as well. Right? I mean that goes without saying. uh, all these years, I've never failed, and so is the guild gonna drop me? Is that what this is about? Are you gonna fire me? Are you firing me? Is that what that? Okay, okay. No, of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. Why would you? Why would you? Because that would be ridiculous. Because I am the best you've got, and I am still very intimidating, which is a big part of it. Uh, okay, so what do you want then? What do you want to talk about? I mean, obviously, this, but what do you want to say? I will surrender the floor to you. Go ahead and speak. What do you want? Okay, no, but I just gave you an explanation. No, no, I did. I just gave you a real explanation. That was an explanation. It was a real one. It was I don't no, 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 no. You don't get to ask me that. You don't get because it because it's not uh the kind of thing you ask of a contractor. You hired me for my sword. You didn't hire me for my personal um life. Anything. You just hired me for my sword, and that's what you Mhm. Mhm. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Uh, I I took the job, and I have been loyal to you. Uh, so do you remember when you first hired me? Uh, there was no negotiating. Do you remember that? Okay, so do you know that that doesn't usually happen? I mean, everybody haggles to begin with, right? Because it's kind of part of the song and dance that people do when they're hiring. But a woman, a woman berserker, a woman warrior, a woman guard, a woman anything in this kind of field, they haggle hard. And they're really insulting about it. They openly question whether or not I can do the job and whether I would be worth that much money. And if they know of my work and they know of my reputation, then they openly wonder if I am worth it because I am not manageable or agreeable. And now, some amount of haggling is to be understandable, but I also don't see men getting the same kind of treatment. But you didn't do that. You didn't do any of that. You just told me what you wanted from me, and I told you a price, and you said that's fair. That's fair. That's all you said. Just that's fair. And and then you offered me tea, and I really like tea. I like tea. I like tea as much as the next, but I might like tea more than the next person. Uh, but nobody ever offers me tea. So there was that, and so I took the job, and I did feel an early sense of respect and being respected, and that was important. And ever since, I have always felt that way. You don't treat me like a servant or a tool or a weapon that you've rented. You don't treat me like a potential liability or a problem to solve. You just treat me like a person. And you say hello and good morning, and you ask how I'm doing, and you actually listen and show an interest when you ask how my day is. And after I was hurt in that one skirmish, you sent someone to check on me, and like nobody has ever actually done that. You are literally Literally the first person to have ever done that. So, so anyway, when I was in the square and I was dealing with the combatants, and then suddenly there you were, just right in the middle of this battle with your stupid little ledger and no concern for yourself. At that point, I I forgot. I was distracted. I forgot for a moment what I was supposed to be doing, and I was distracted by making sure that you were safe. I had to make sure that you were out of the way before I could focus on what I was doing, before I could focus on my job, before I could focus on. I just had to make sure that you were safe first, and then I could focus. And that's not being soft. That is prioritizing, right? That is identifying what needs to be done and what needs to be done soonest, and not necessarily more important, but more pertinent is what I'm saying. Your safety was more pertinent. And so I took care of that first. If it meant that a few bad guys had to get away, then that's what it meant. But it didn't because I caught them and dealt with them. And why are you looking at me like that? Don't just okay, stop smiling. Just stop smiling. It's this is a serious conversation, this is a professional conversation about work, and I am explaining a tactical decision to um it just occurred to me, something just occurred to me about what you asked and about the way you're smiling right now. You didn't actually bring me in here with the intention of dropping me or anything like that, were you? You just I'm hearing it now, and I realize that you were actually asking if I was okay. You were actually just checking if I'm okay. Isn't that right? Uh-huh. Okay. Well, and I can see now that that's what you were doing. It took a second for me to realize, obviously, but I, in my defense, you did call me in for a formal meeting, and that's a kind of frankly silly thing to have a formal meeting about. You could have just said, "Hey, how you doing?" And that would have sufficed, right? I mean, it could have just been that. It could have just been that. It didn't have to be this whole formal thing. Um, I mean, you could have just knocked on my door. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. I'm always fine. I've been fine through way worse than this, and that was just just way worse than a moment of inattention in the middle of a fight against a bunch of, frankly, lightweights. Mm, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you? Do you know that, until this week, everybody knows not to look me in the eye when I'm working, right? The merchants cross the street, the men just keep their heads down. I once found that the kids were making up songs about how I frightened a warhorse just by looking at it. That didn't happen. They just made that up. Um, but I have been very good at keeping people at distance Nobody is even friendly to me. Forget about friends. And then you just don't do that. You just don't keep your distance. You ask, how am I doing? And you say, good morning. And you make tea and you listen when you say, how are you doing? And you send people to check on me. And now you checked on me yourself. And I don't know how to be frightening around you. I have tried. Goodness knows I have tried. I have tried everything I could do while maintaining some professional boundaries, and you are just never afraid of me. I did appreciate the pastry that you brought me. That was nice. You know, I appreciate that you notice when I haven't eaten. Anyway, yeah, this is, since you asked, and for the sake of purely professional, completely professional, full professional disclosure, which you apparently professionally require, uh, when I saw you in the merchant quarter last week, everything just went a little bit quiet in my head, and I just needed a moment because you just looked up from across the street and you weren't frightened. You weren't frightened. You actually looked like you were relieved that I was the one who was there. And you're the only person who ever looks at me like that. Anyway, regardless, the point of the matter is that I remain effective at my job, and I have not been diminished in any way, shape, or form by your presence. And last week was just an anomaly. That was just an unusual circumstance, and it will not be repeated. Especially if you don't show up in places where you're not supposed to be, it's not going to happen. And frankly, I would say that is your bad. That was an administrative error on your part to have been where you shouldn't have been. And yeah, all of this is really on you. You are the one who may have jeopardized the operation. If it hadn't been for me, well, okay, admittedly, if it hadn't been for me, I wouldn't have been the one to pause and stare at you for a moment. But anyway, look, I am still effective. If you still want to, keep this contract that we're going, I'm still available for you. Terms don't change. Price is still the same price, and I would ask that in the future, please keep me informed of your movements so that I am not, caught. So that I could plan for variables. Okay, you're still smiling. Would you please? Why? I am. You are just so the most. I actually don't know what you are. But you're the most of it. So anyway, like I said, the contract stands. And in case that wasn't clear, I don't care what Aldrich says or Eric says or Baldric says or the cleric says. I have the contract. I'm keeping the contract. I've worked for lesser people for lesser money, and I'm not going to go back to that. I've never worked for anyone who gives me tea. Do you have any? Well, okay. Why? Why do you have it? We're in the middle of this is a meeting. This is a professional meeting. Why do you have tea? I would like some tea. Yes, thank you. But also, I'm only doing this because I'm about to be off the clock. As soon as we end this meeting, I am off the clock and until tomorrow morning. And hydrate or dihydrate. It's very important, especially my job, physical activity. Got to stay hydrated. So that's it. That's all. I don't need anything else. Just tea. I'm not here for. I'm not here to just hang out with you or anything. Um, do you have any scones to go with it? Oh, the ones with the berries? Yeah, I mean, I could stay for a little longer if you want. Okay, yeah. Mm. Oh, my day was a beast actually. So, how much time have you got?